Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our Week 4 review coming right up. If you haven't seen any of our content before, we'll get into that. If you haven't seen any of our content before, make sure you guys leave a like down below, subscribe if you have not already, and leave a comment. Now, this is going to be a bit of a strange video, as you're seeing me right now, but I'm actually recording this Friday, which, fun fact, is before two of the games have happened. Now, we are going to have an analysis on those two parts of the game, and this video, though, we're recording it in two parts. We're recording this part right now, and then the other part later is I'm going to be in Thunder Bay for a week, and I'll be away from my normal setup.
It's going to be Carter now, and then Carter. It's going to be Carter now, then Carter in the future.
Yes, as well as Rick now, and Rick in the future. But you'll notice a quality drop in my microphone a little later in the video. I'm apologizing in advance, but I figured we'd at least film half of it with the nice setup.
The better half.
I have to drive 7.5 hours. But anyways, so the first game of the week, Thursday
of the better half
night game, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers win by a score of 36-23 over the Edmonton Elks. Now, this game was a little bit closer than I would have liked for a little bit of it. The Bombers were actually trailing for a portion of this game, which I was like, but all in all, there is one man we need to talk about, and his name is Zachary Collaros. Zach Collaros was
I thought you were going to say
fantastic.
The Demskinator.
Ooh, the Demskinator was good. The Demskinator, ooh, that's a good nickname. We gotta roll with that. The Demskinator was good. Funny enough, it's funny. I saw someone on Twitter after the game being like, man, Demsky should really hurt his ankle more often because he really popped off tonight. Talking about how Demsky, of course, was a game time decision before this because of a hurt ankle. But yeah, Zach Collaros, 25 for 30, 334 passing yards, an average of 11.1, so over 10 yards, very good there. 3 touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, no interception, and a rushing touchdown from Zach Collaros, which is not something you usually see. A very good run to get in there. This game, we really struggled to get the rushing game going. We eventually sort of got it going a little bit with Matthew Peterson. His average was pretty bad for the majority of this game, but he was able to get a couple like 10 or 12 yard runs near the end. He got like a 15, I believe. And so his average went up to 5.4. So decent run game there. Nick Demsky being the key receiver here, the Demskinator for Winnipeg. I'm totally using that. That's great. Dalton Schoen with a decent night, 6 receptions, 75 receiving yards. And then Sarek Wheatfall with 3 receptions, 62 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Now, we're going to have to see the status of Sarek Wheatfall going into the Stampede Bowl, our next week in week 5 game against Calgary. And the reason is because I saw from my seat him go down the tunnel later in the game. And the reason is pretty simple. There is a play later in the game where he doesn't make the catch. It's an incompletion, but he goes up and he jumps up high to grab it, gets hit kind of right in the butt as the Elks player is just trying to kind of disorient him. And it's a good play. It's clean hit. There's nothing wrong with it. Sarek Wheatfall lands directly on his head, though. Seriously, he basically pile drives himself. And I'm not going to lie, it looked bad. And so he was slow to get up, and he went to the sideline. So we'll have to see. I'm assuming it's concussion related. I'll put it this way: it wasn't like I don't think we're looking at any sort of serious neck injury. He was able to get up right away, just kind of holding his head while he was getting taken to the back by the trainer. So we'll have to see the status of him. Hopefully, he is okay.
Even though he only had 2 catches, like I was, pretty impressed with Stearns.
Yeah, no, Stearns did decent. It's just Stearns didn't, and Stearns has done pretty well for us. He's kind of been a bit of our Drew Wolatarski in the sense of not a guy who sees a lot of action, but has been able to kind of consistently get us a first down in second and long, just kind of a decent possession receiver. Now, for the Edmonton Elks here, I will say, firstly, despite the fact that I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensive line had another fantastic game, really, really well done, at least in terms of the pass block. Couldn't really get the rush block going as well. Jared Brinkman, Jake Serezna finally started to get going a little bit. Not that, and so they were able to record one sack, Jake Serezna. But the Bombers' offensive line has been fantastic this year. Seriously, I'm talking best, if not second best, offensive line in the league so far, based off their performance. If you ask me, in terms of just how well they have been blocking, not just in terms of the amount of sacks given up, but in terms of if you watch these rushing plays, how are they opening those holes up? Now, I think this game is a little bit of an anomaly in the sense of they really couldn't get as much going there until kind of closer to the end. But especially in the earlier games of BC, they were opening those holes wide open. And whether it was Brady Oliveira, Matthew Peterson, they were getting those rushing yards well. And Zach Caleros, a lot of the times, had the time he needed to make the plays he would end up making. Rick, you're giving me that look like you're looking at a stat that you want to say.
Oh, I am looking at a stat that I want to say, something that you wouldn't think of.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so listen to how crazy this is. And this kind of goes back to our discussion with Scout the other day, okay?
Yep.
So, I don't know if I sent you this one or not, but I just thought of this earlier.
Yeah.
So, since 2021, Elks are 18-53, .254 winning percentage. They're 5-30 at home, and they're .143 winning percentage.
Yeah, that's so like what 14% winning at home.
14.3 winning at home.
14.3. That's brutal.
They've only won 5 games out of 35 at home.
That's bad. That's really, really bad.
Like, okay, so I have a wait, oh yeah, never mind. I was looking at the wrong thing. But here's the thing, like Fajardo had another rushing touchdown. I think Fajardo's their short
Yeah, it was short yardage. Right on the goal line. Yep.
Like, wouldn't you be mad if you're Cody Fajardo? Like, at some point, you have to start Cody Fajardo and somewhat save the season.
It's funny. You do, but you don't, in the sense of that the Elks have tried this before, and then they'll then be negotiating with Trey Ford, and Trey Ford will kind of pull well, you haven't given me a full season. You haven't really let me off the leash and give me a full try. You know what I mean? And so I almost wonder if the Elks this
I want to
season,
say 8th game, they'll switch.
yeah, like I don't know how far it has to go, but I also don't know if it's Trey Ford. Like I'll put it this way. Is if we look at this game, so they give up 36 points. The Elks defense was decent here for a majority of this game.
Up until the 4th.
Yeah, but with the exception of maybe the second quarter. Second quarter was
no, I'm just saying, like,
rough.
if you take out the Winnipeg's 13 in the 4th quarter, like, it was almost kind of neck and neck.
Yeah, but no, like if I'm just kind of looking here, like the big issues in this game for Edmonton, if we're looking defensively, I mean, like ignoring offensively, one area where the Elks were kind of struggling here, and actually I saw this on the Bonfire Sports post game with Chris Walby. One of the things Chris Walby was talking about was that the Elks secondary past Terrell Ford is pretty green. You know what I mean? In the sense of it's pretty.
And Royce Meche.
And Royce Meche. But besides those two guys, there's not a ton of like real veteran CFL experience that is able to just kind of really lead this team in the way that it needs to. Even Royce Meche is not, like, I could be wrong. I don't think he's particularly old.
Royce Meche is.
I could be totally wrong. Let's see here. So if I'm looking at Royce Meche here, yeah, he's only 28. He's 28. He's been in the CFL since 2018, at least. Fair enough, you know. But he's had 3 strong seasons in terms of, he had 3 seasons in Toronto where he did relatively well. He got about 4 picks across all 4 of those seasons, and then his tackle numbers were okay. It's nothing ridiculous. It's nothing crazy though. Like it's one of those things where it's not really enough. And Wheatfall and Dembski kind of burned him on some plays, and it made things a little difficult. If we're looking at the offense for the Edmonton Elks, yeah, Trey Ford's percentage though, 18 for 29, not exactly great. the offensive line for Edmonton I thought was better than some of their prior games. Now, near the end of the game, it would start to unravel a bit. Willie Jefferson would grab a sack. And then I can't remember if we got any air sacks. Yes. Kyrie Wilson and Tony Jones both got a sack. So 3 sacks given up, not exactly what you're looking for. Offensive line for Edmonton had a better game, but probably not as good as they'd like. I actually thought that their offensive line did decent in the rush block, but in the pass block kind of struggled a little bit where they had to kind of really hold on for a bit of time there. That's when the pressure would really get to them. And so Javon Leak, Justin Rankin with decent games there. It kind of felt like they were doing a bit better than they were if you actually look at their averages based on it just kind of felt like they were running the ball a lot more than we were. But all in all, I think Winnipeg ended up rushing the ball if you look at the numbers, which is a bit of a crazy stat there. But yeah, Kay and Julian Grant was definitely kind of the standout for them. 115 receiving yards, 1 touchdown on 5 receptions. Vincent Blanchard with a pretty good game with 3 field goals on 3 attempts and both extra points for them. Castillo was perfect, minus he missed a convert. And besides that, he was pretty fine. So, I don't know why the score app needs to fix it here, as it says that Castillo went 0 for 3. That's not true. He went 3 for 3.
Didn't he go like?
He went 3 for 3, but he missed 1 convert at the start of the game.
Oh, okay.
That's all it was on the first Dembski touchdown. But besides that, I thought it was a pretty good game for Winnipeg. They did, at the end of the day, it was a little closer than maybe I would have liked at times, based on my expectations.
I know you're
getting.
I will say you were starting to get nervous during some of it.
I don't even know if I'd say that. Like it's funny. You're texting me and I was like, shut up.
I know you're like, shut up, Rick.
Yeah, I was.
Shut up, Rick.
I wouldn't say I was overly nervous. It was just kind of like, okay, guys, please, I know we're gonna get going, but can we get going now so I don't get that.
You know what it is, and I've noticed this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So far, and we've had what 3, 6, 9, 12, 8. Well, okay, say 4, 8, 12, 16, say about 19 games, give or take.
Yeah.
I always find the games start slow in the first half, and then they kick off in the second half.
I mean, we'll definitely be saying that about your game. But,
oh, God.
But all in all, is there anything else you got to say about this one? Also, I forgot for this game to put the Bomber background for it, so there it is for a second or two. Blah, blah.
I will say this. Mm-hmm. Congrats to the Bombers for another sellout crowd.
7 straight. That building is packed every single game. Loving it. And there's only our next game, which is, I believe we do a home and home with Calgary. Or no, because we have the Stampede Bowl. Then we have a bye week, which is crazy that we already have 2 bye weeks.
Yeah, and then you have Calgary and Toronto.
And then we will play Calgary. Yeah, that game against
Calgary.
And then
you have home and home. Yeah, the game against Calgary after the bye, and then you have a home and home with Toronto.
And the game against Calgary, there's only 2,000 seats left. We've already sold 30,000.
Oh,
yeah. So fun stuff.
So you go from the Calgary Bowl to bye week, home and home, or sorry, after the bye week you play Calgary again at home. Mm-hmm. The home and home with Toronto, and then you're in Calgary again.
Yeah,
and then you play Ottawa.
It's weird that we're gonna play the Argos once Chad Kelly comes back, because we play.
You know what? It's weird that they scheduled you and Sask so late into the season.
They always do, because it's Labor Day Banjo Bowl.
Oh yeah, it's
following weeks. That's always the same.
Yeah,
the only thing that sometimes will happen, occasionally we will play against Saskatchewan a third time, and it'll be earlier in the season. That's the only thing that will sometimes. Last year had that. But this year, no. Now, I think that's pretty much all we got for this one. Shall we get into the next one?
We shall get into this very
The Hamilton.
exciting.
So, the Hamilton Tiger Cats defeat the Montreal
s-
Alouettes by a score of 35 to
And
17. The
and the funny thing is,
Ticats
me
get their first win of the
me
season, and the Alouettes are no longer undefeated. Rick, go nuts.
me and Carter were discussing our pick'ems during the preview of this week, and we're like, Carter's like, who are you going with? I'm like, listen, I gotta stick with my Ticats through thick and thin. Like we died,
Except for that game against
we fight.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, we. Oh, I forget what the saying is. You live together, you die together. I don't know how the saying goes, but
Oh,
like
something like that.
you through thick and thin, like
Yeah.
nothing. But I mean, so first off, I will say, out of 23,000, we had 20,911. So that's not bad for
Yep.
a home game. I know it's not sellout, but
Sellout is how much,
um,
sorry?
23,000
Oh, it's only 23? I thought it was
ish.
higher than that. Oh.
I
Anyways,
mean, it's probably like 25 if you had every seat,
fair enough.
but um, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even see Montreal score their single. But this first quarter was the most boringest first quarter I've ever seen in my
Oh yeah,
life.
no, there was a whole lot of nothing. I was
Like I
watching
think,
the NHL draft, and I told you this, but I'm gonna tell the viewers this is that I'm watching the NHL draft with my dad, and I'm like, hey dad, guess what? We're missing a fucking stellar game of football, 1-1.
I could just imagine Luke Wilson sitting on the sideline, fucking hot garbage.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was just kind of like, just kind of sitting there being
Um,
like, this is not, this
so
is not
some
how it is.
interesting things happened. So we, I would have to go in and see where it was. I think I, I want to say it was either the second or third, and it's like I forget what the like. I know it was third down, but I can't remember how many yards it was. Maybe
Okay,
it was like third and 10 or third
and this is in the first
and
half.
8. I can't remember when this was. Our punter, Nick Constantino, goes and throws a pass to
This was in the
Tarnowski for
third quarter, I
11
believe.
yards
I believe this was in the
for
third
a first
quarter
down. Like,
because I
who
saw
would
this
have
part.
thought, like, Travis McKnight would have, like, that up his sleeve?
Okay. Also, I have a complaint to make that has something to do with the game, but also not really what to do with the game. I just searched up CFL to go to the CFL website to take a look at all the stats.
Yeah.
Google, the Alouettes haven't used that logo for I can't even tell you how long.
No.
Please update the logo.
Um, so Bo Levi Mitchell went 25 for 31, better outing. Yeah, he only
Yep.
threw 2 touchdowns, but still a better outing.
Yeah.
247 yards.
It's a good average,
McLeod
25
Bethel
for 31.
Thompson. McLeod Bethel Thompson started the game 5 for 8, 8 yards. I'm sitting with our group, and I'm like, oh my god, like has this guy like regressed this bad? Um,
The answer is
but I
yes.
will say, yo, who's this Johnny Augustine fella?
You don't even need to say who this Johnny Augustine fella is because he was interviewed by back when we were called CFL Central. Me and Jake, one of the I actually not even one of I think I he was no he was I think our second player interview that we
Yeah.
did. He was our
No,
first current one that we ever did. So check it out. It's still very relevant. He talks about his love
the
of real
reason
estate.
why the reason why I'm asking is because he had 15 carries for 49 yards. Yeah, he only had 3.3, but that's not bad. And then we actually saw lots of Tim White tonight. I mean, he only had 78 yards, 9 for 10, 1 touchdown. That's because they kept on double teaming Kenny Lawler. Like
Of
every
course they were.
time,
Double coverage on Kenny Lawler. I mean,
leave everyone
to
else open.
to be fair, if there's gonna be a guy who's gonna make the catch in double coverage, it's Kenny Lawler. I've seen it. I've seen it, my friend.
So Johnny Augustine actually had over 100 all-purpose yards. For someone that we
Oh wait.
haven't
Oh wow.
used
Okay.
much,
Yeah.
Yeah, because he went 3 for 3 for 63 yards
Yeah,
receiving.
that's
His
right.
longest was a 39-yard catch.
Not too bad.
Giovanni Robertson went 2 for 2 for 35.
And
Kenny
this is where
Lawler
the
went
and this
four
is
for eight.
where and this is where that rushing average is not always very accurate because it doesn't take into account those times he gets a pass in the flat and he runs with it there. So
We saw a little bit of Bridges, Treshawn Ward. We saw a little bit Ternowski. I will say our short yardage, our third and inches, whatever you want to call it, 3rd and 1. It has
mhm.
to be 10 times better. Like it was dreadful tonight. Like we had like a couple of turnover on downs because we couldn't get an inch.
Yeah.
But let's go over to the defensive side of the Ticats. Carter.
Yes.
Wilson who? Who's Kyle Wilson? Kyle Wilson we don't need anymore. Do you know why? Because we have Devin Versek. And my lord, the guy had 8 defensive tackles and a pick 6 return as his first starting pro.
This is true. Yeah, no, I did see that pick six. That was just an instance of like your
Jamal
worst nightmare as a receiver is where the pass comes to you, and it's one that you probably should have because I mean I'll put it this way: when I was playing in high school, our coach kind of taught us in the sense of not really necessarily as much me because I played O line, but he's kind of like,
Mhm.
if your hand can touch it, you should catch it. You should. There's no at that point if you can touch it, there's no excuse for not catching it. And he said, and if you can't catch it or whatever, just don't hit that ball up because all you're doing is making it an easy pick. And what did he do? He hit the fucking ball up. And what happened? Pick six. That is what we saw
Um,
tonight.
Jamal Peters had 5 defensive tackles and 1 interception.
Yep.
Um, we had Mario Kendrick had a sack. Julian Hauser had a sack. Then it was Nick Constantino punted the ball and it landed at the 1-yard line. McLeod Bethel Thompson went to go hike the ball and he overplayed the ball. And Julian Hauser ran into the end zone and picked up the ball and got a touchdown.
Are you talking the one in like the fourth quarter?
Yes.
No, no, he did not. It was not. It did not go to Bethel Thompson. Bethel Thompson did not try to titch the ball over. I'm pretty sure that was a bad snap, was it not?
Yeah, but okay, so it's still kind of
Yeah, but you're blaming. But I'm saying that's not Bethel Thompson's fault. That's your center now. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that one was just a bad snap.
it was they say fumble recovery in the end zone, but yeah, that could have
I
been
mean,
it.
that's how it's technically listed because it's technically listed as a
Yeah.
fumble. But I'm saying in the sense of the snap when Bethel Thompson went to grab that ball from the snap from the center, he was going like
Mhm.
this, like it was not a good snap.
Yeah. Um did
And
you
that ball is
did
instantly
you
a live
see
ball as a snap. Yeah,
did you watch all of the second half or no?
I watched all the second half. Yep.
Did you see Tyler Tarnowski run out of like nowhere and hunt that guy down and tackle him near the end zone
Yes. Yeah, you're talking on the
on
punt,
that
right?
kickoff? Yeah.
Uh, or
I think
is
that's
it
the one
kickoff?
that's
It was
the
either kickoff or punt.
yeah, that's the one that
Oh, it was the
Hauser
punt. It was the punt
got
because
the
there's something controversial about it before that led to the punt. There was like a challenge flag thrown, or there was like a review on something. I'm trying to remember what it was.
yeah,
There's
I
something to
can't
do with that.
remember. But yeah, so it's just like, you know what? Power to him.
Yeah.
You got to win all 3 phases, and that's what we did. Um, we'll take a look at the Montreal side. McLeod Bethel Thompson, 24-41, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I I had a funny feeling the game would be going this way,
Yep. I mean, I think both of us did,
and
considering we picked who we picked.
it's funny because a lot of people took McLeod Bethel Thompson in fantasy and thinking that he was going to have a big game against us, and it's just like,
Nope.
I mean, they didn't even have much of a running game. I mean, it's pretty bad when McLeod Bethel Thompson's leading you with 3 carries for 19 yards.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, they could not get it going. I thought that maybe they would try to really get this going with Sean Thomas Erlington or Travis Tees, but they just couldn't. I mean, Cole Speaker, when your leading receiver only has 57 yards, not great. But I mean, here's the other thing. Like you want to, because he goes 24 for 41. It's not good. Look at like
No.
some, especially like let's put it this way, Rick. You remember the
Hmm.
end of the game where you guys got the touchdown after the bad snap, and that was kind of the nail in the
Yeah.
coffin there because that was when the Alouettes really had to go on that last drive, but there was
I
nothing
would
there.
I would say if there's going to be a turning point, it would have been the Verisek
No, 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 no. I'm not
interception.
talking turning
Oh,
point. I'm
okay.
talking nail in the coffin, where the
Oh,
hope
okay.
of actually salvaging the game of Montreal is just cut off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
At
yeah.
that
Okay.
point, then the game was lost. What I'm saying is,
Hmm.
look at some of the throws he does after that, where they're trying to go for a long ball just to, I don't know, make something out of it. He was not even, like, seriously, I swear to God, he was whole provinces over. He wasn't even close. And it was one of those
Hmm.
things where I was just like, it felt like I watched the heart and soul of a man die when that ball was thrown, and it just wasn't good. And so, um, Bethel Thompson, year by year, has been regressing more and more and more, and I feel like he's gotten to that point of just there's not much left. I'm not gonna lie. This is
No.
not the Bethel Thompson that, though Chad Kelly finished the game. This is not the Bethel Thompson that helped the Toronto Argonauts get into the Grey Cup against
Hmm.
Winnipeg. This is just not. This is not that. This is not the Bethel Thompson. Um, but if we're looking here, like defensively, Najee Murray, seven defensive tackles for him, six for Lorenzo Burns, sack for Marc Antoine Decoy, or is it Decoy? I can't remember. It's cutting
No,
his
it's the
name off.
Qua.
It's Decoy. Okay.
Yeah.
And then no picks for the Alouettes in terms of like on the defensive side of things.
Interceptions. Hmm.
Interception for Verisuk as well as Jamal Peters. 8 defensive tackles for Verisuk. Good game for him. There was a sack for Kendricks as well as Julian Hauser. And then there was the fumble recovery for Hauser, which was the one in the end zone, right? That was the one you were talking about on the bad snap.
Yeah, yeah.
So all in all, good game by the Ticats. Not perfect by any means. There were definitely issues with it, but I mean Montreal was on a roll going into this game, and this was out of all the games that are like this was not a gimme game, despite the fact that even with Davis Alexander out, there's still a lot of talent on this Alouettes team. So all in all, can't really blame the Ticats here. If you're Ticats, there's nothing you can complain about here. You guys got to win. You got against the
Nope.
Alouettes. So hard game on the
And
schedule. You got a W.
the good thing is because we outsmoked the Alouettes, we are now +4. We're actually +1 now instead of in the
There you go.
crapper in the negatives.
So, is there anything else you got for this one, Rick?
Not for this one, my friend.
All right. Well, we will pick up the other ones when I'm over in Thunder Bay. So, yeah, let's check out the next one. So I'm now over in Thunder Bay, and the last two games have happened. Apologies for any poor audio quality, as I don't have my microphone here. I do have a light, so you can actually see me, and it's not. I'm in complete darkness, but a lot has happened. We're recording this as of 12:50 Eastern. It is now Canada Day for Eastern time. It's weird me being in Eastern time zone. I'm used to Central, but I'm over. I've come to the dark side with Rick.
Yes. Except for he's still farther away.
Yes, and so our the third game we're going to get into, um, which is the game that happened just yesterday, Rick, as the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeated the BC Lions by a score of 37-18. And I'm not going to lie,
Correction, sir.
yes?
This game was 2 days ago, not yesterday.
Okay, I haven't gone to bed yet. It doesn't count. It's a day
No, I
ago.
just wanted.
Rick, it's
No,
one day
I
ago if I was in Winnipeg, okay? We're using Winnipeg time. Winnipeg's the
no, I
center of the
get
world, all
that,
right?
but I just wanted to clarify it. This game was on Saturday, people. It
Yes.
wasn't yesterday because then people will think that you're talking about the
Fair
Toronto
enough.
game.
Fair enough. Yes. This game was the
So
Saturday game and then there was a Sunday game afterwards. But this was a
this was this,
disaster for Jeremiah
this
Mazzoli.
was a disaster 2.0 after we've seen disaster
This
1.0 last
was
year.
a disaster. It's funny, this was a disaster for Jeremiah Mazzoli. However, this was a relatively good game for James Butler, as James Butler gets a rushing touchdown, 17 rushes, an average of 7.2, very high average, 123 rushes with a 38-yard rush. Um,
But
yeah,
it gets better.
yeah.
It gets tons better. AJ Ouellette had 23 carries for 139 yards and one touchdown.
This is true. Now, AJ Ouellette got more yardage. However, James Butler's average was higher. I will give him that. However, this was Jake Mayer. Despite it's funny, not both quarterbacks, their completion
Could
percentage was
not
pretty
throw.
bad. Like in the sense of both of them were barely above 50%, as Mazzoli was 16 for 29, but then Jake Mayer was 13 for 23. But the big difference here is that Mazzoli threw three picks, and Jake Mayer didn't throw any, and so that was kind of the key thing. And this is why Jake Mayer in limited roles, when you're not having him throw 50 passes a game, can be a very serviceable quarterback. And why he had looked decent for Calgary beforehand, but then when they lost Bo Levi Mitchell and they decided to really start leaning into the passing game, they leaned in so far that it then kind of exposed where Jake Mayer's weaknesses were, where that if he's going to throw 50 times a game, he's going to throw a couple interceptions, and they just happen to be pick sixes against him. But didn't happen today, or didn't happen in this game. However, it did happen to Jeremiah Mazzoli. It was a disaster for him. Sean White went 1 for 1 for BC, and Brett Lothar was 5 for 5. So Saskatchewan can potentially put the pitchforks away, as it was just the other day that I'm pretty sure a lot of them were going to throw shit on his front lawn or calling for his head. I heard a bunch of stuff about Mr. Brett Lothar, but Brett Lothar 5 for 5 with a 48 yarder as his longest. So not much you can complain about there. And leading the team in tackles for Saskatchewan, it's our boy AJ Allen with 7 tackles, led the team. Um, and the 3 interceptions, one for Fields, one for Campbell, and the other for Roland Milligan Jr. So Milligan Jr. Adds another one to it. Although I see one here is listed as for Brooks Jr. Is there a fourth interception? Or is this an error? Because that feels like an error.
So for Saskatchewan,
Yeah, because I have Fields, Campbell, Milligan Jr., and Brooks Jr. all listed with interceptions, but
so
Mazzoli only threw
Brooks,
three.
Milligan, and Campbell each had one. That was it.
Okay, yeah. So that Brooks's one is just. Uh,
Brooks Jr. did have one.
oh, but you're saying Fields didn't?
Fields did not.
Did he have a sack instead, or?
No,
Okay,
he
well
only had
then,
three
then,
defensive
then the
tackles.
then the scorer app is just completely wrong on that. But that's fine. They've been wrong on this stuff before. I just use it because it's very convenient for at least on my phone. It's a little bit harder to use it in my setup. I'm sitting on a bed. It doesn't even look like that, but I am. Um, But then, yeah, for Saskatchewan, AJ Ouellette really with a strong game, something that I think they've been really looking forward with him. Saskatchewan with Schaefer Baker out, with Emelis out, they were able to have other guys step up. Duncan Busby, 2 receptions, 40 yards, 1 touchdown for him. Very good performance for him in kind of a limited role. Aiden Eberhardt led the BC Lions in receiving yards, 4 receptions for 65 yards. Touchdown for Keon Hatcher. But it was one of those things where BC kind of came out of the gate um, with a
Slow.
bit of a dud, and they came out slow. Saskatchewan went up early, had a decent second quarter, and then afterwards they just really never got much else going. I mean, they were able to grab a field goal in the third, but then 8 points in the fourth. And it was just a ton of errors, and that was one of kind of the key points of this game was that as much as the defense for BC wasn't great, it was the offense that was losing them this game, as they would put up 18 points, but the amount of times where the poor performance of the offense directly affected the field position of Saskatchewan's offense because of where they'd be giving this ball up and where these turnovers were happening. Um, a lot of the wounds for BC were self inflicted, and I'm not docking the Riders, like they didn't do good plays. They played really well, and they forced Jeremiah Mazzoli into an uncomfortable situation where he was going to make these kinds of mistakes. But at the end of the day, um, it's one of those things where I think if you're a Lions fan after this game, you're like, Jeremiah Mazzoli's not the answer. And it's unfortunate because we're talking about a guy who looked really, really good before the first of multiple knee injuries, funny enough, at the hands of a Saskatchewan Roughrider with Garrett Marino, with that shot that he got into the legs. And then he became healthy and he played really, really well against Winnipeg, but got injured in that game, out for another season. And it's just been a cycle of injuries for him. He's finally able to stay healthy, but he's lost he's just lost it. He's
It's
not.
not really lost. It's more as regressed by a
Yeah,
lot.
well, it's regressed, but it's lost it in the sense of where it's like you know what it's funny. This was a comparison that would have worked until Eric Carlson. I was going to talk about Eric Carlson, and specifically Eric Carlson when he was in Ottawa and he was great. And then he went to San Jose and he was pretty bad until his last year. Up until last year, me and Zach had the joke that and we called him Broken Foot Carlson because he broke his foot and then he sucked. And so we're like, man, Broken Foot Carlson, he is not it anymore. And then obviously he had that amazing season with San Jose on his way out before he went to Pittsburgh. But it was one of those things where yeah, it's just he's been out for so long, and this is not a Gabriel Landeskog situation for Jeremiah Mazzoli. It just he's lost it. Which again, which to be fair, losing it is basically what regression is in a nutshell. So, is there anything else you got for this game, Rick? Or
One thing I will point out is I don't know what these refs are on, but this was another football game where there was like almost 300 yards of penalties.
yeah,
Refs are on something.
yeah, no, definitely. And then, shall we get into the last one though?
We shall get into the last one.
So, the Toronto Argonauts defeat the Ottawa Redblacks and grab their very first win of the
Okay,
season by a score of
first off,
29-16. And you were at
let's
this game.
let's set the tone straight. It wasn't the Toronto Argonauts who beat the Red Blacks. It was one single person handily that beat the Red Blacks, because if it wasn't for this one
And,
single
and, and who was
person,
it?
Toronto Argonauts would have lost.
And who is it?
We are talking about, hold on, I gotta,
Who is it?
Derek Sly Waka. He is their first, I think he was their first round pick this year. He had the missed field goal for return. And then I think it was either a blocked punt or it was blocked field goal for return. But Carter, if you think about it, when he had the blocked field goal, he went or the punt, he went from one side of the end zone to the
Yeah,
other,
no, I
back,
and
and
then
then
went
down the
back
field.
and he basically pulled all the defenders to one side and then ran back and beat everybody. But it was funny because I thought you were about to say that someone on Ottawa was the reason that Toronto won this game, and so I'm like, oh
I
my
mean,
god. Well,
if
no,
you
no, no, no. But
want,
Rick, I thought you were about to make that argument. So I'm like, is Rick about to make the Vince McMahon Bret Hart screwed Bret Hart argument? Was he about to hit me with
I mean, if you really
that?
want to point fingers as to who's to blame for Ottawa, is their offensive line.
Yeah, no, that was a problem for
That's who
them.
I'm pointing
They
my fingers at.
Yeah, although it's funny because like Dustin Crum and Adababoye had decent rushing stats for the limited rushes they had. But it was one of those things where Dustin Crum was just constantly under pressure in this game. And
That's what I mean.
and so another thing is that field goal. Now, firstly, it wasn't a missed field goal. It was blocked. I can't remember if you said that, but I'm specifying that now because I just
Hmm.
remembered. Um, I'm like Ottawa. You gotta keep the guys back. You can't let them get a hand on that. Like that's one of those things where your special teams, you need to have that down. You can't. I don't care how tall he is. Um, like it's not that hard to block for a field goal. Keep the guy down. Keep the guy back. So even if he goes up, he's too far back to be able to do anything. Um, but they just didn't
So,
do it. And then it's one of those things. There were two or three guys that could have absolutely got that tackle in the end zone. I thought he was going to take a knee, and then he doesn't take a knee, and it keeps going. But the guys are standing there like they're waiting for him to take a knee. Don't fucking wait for him to take a knee. Tackle his ass
yeah.
unless until you hear a whistle, go for it, because that's one of those things where there are some guys in that play that get beat that have no excuse for it, where they're right there and he just runs away. And it's one of those things where he literally runs almost backwards to get around you. And then also the fact that when he's running to like the left side of the field, from his perspective at least, to the left
Hmm.
side of the field, all the defenders just blindly rush, and no one thinks, okay, maybe we should have contain here. Maybe like on
Hmm.
CFL
Yeah.
football, it's an extra large field. Nobody thinks about having contain. It's just like the the offense that was out there, and it like the special teams that was out there had just planned like, oh, we're just going to go out. He's going to kick a field goal, and we're going to walk off the field, and then it gets blocked, and then they're just standing there like, oh, like they don't know what to do, and it's like, guys, the whistle hasn't gone. Go
Um.
for it. And so this was the one game that threw off me and your predictions. We both went 3-1 this week, and it was this game that we were wrong on.
So also, I noticed Toronto stole uh, a move out of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers playbook
Oh yeah.
because Eli got a touchdown the other day, and we got another offensive lineman who got a touchdown this game.
Oh yeah. Which
And then on top of it,
Yeah, that was Ryan Hunter. That's right.
yes, it was. And then on top of it, Toronto only had 30 rushing yards the whole game.
That's crazy. Well, that was the thing I found funny when they were going into the fourth quarter, because I watched like a bit of this game. They were showing the
Mm-hmm.
stats offensively. Ottawa had more rushing yards and passing yards, and they were down by two touchdowns. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh my God, guys, it's not like you guys shouldn't be winning this game. You actively threw this game away in the sense of just boneheaded decisions, and mistake, like just little mistakes, as much as standing there thinking that he's going to go for the knee and that the play is going to be done and not playing till the whistle. Seriously, you're taught that as a kid. You're taught that if you're playing high school, play until the whistle. Whether it's hockey, whether it's soccer, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whatever it is, play to the whistle. They didn't play to the whistle and they got burnt on it.
So also at the very last second, Toronto went to go kick a field goal, and he missed it. And then people are wondering why they kick a field goal with no time left. Is because they wanted the points for and not against. Because it makes a difference
Well,
when
yeah,
it
it also
comes.
is one of those things where if these teams play twice against each other or whatever,
Yeah, that's what I was
and
talking about.
Ottawa wins, then the tiebreaker is point
The
differential.
point
This is
difference.
actually why last year Winnipeg, um, in our in the banjo, I think it was in because we had lost to
Yeah.
Saskatchewan in our
Saskatchewan.
first game against them, and then or
Which
no,
would have been Labor
yes we
Day.
did no, but I'm trying to think of what it was. I don't think it was Saskatchewan. Was it Saskatchewan? I don't know. There was one year where we played an opponent, and we essentially, I think it was BC actually, or was it?
Okay.
Or was it Saskatchewan? Actually, I think it was Saskatchewan, but it wouldn't have been last year because last year we played him three times. It would have been a year that we played him twice. And basically, we had lost the first game, Labor Day. Then we had won the Banjo Bowl. However, we had gotten a touchdown near the end of the game, and everyone was wondering why the hell O'Shea was running for two. Because it was one of those
Hmm.
things where it's like, we had this game locked up. It seemed like an unnecessary risk. We then found out after the game the reason is because O'Shea had checked the point difference before the game and saw that if we got 2 points, we that would have put us ahead of them. So he took a little bit of a risk in the sense of because if he just got the single, we would have tied. But I think we would have lost on the tiebreaker. You know what I mean? Then
Hmm.
because then there
Yeah.
was another tiebreaker after that. I'm pretty sure we would have lost on it. But O'Shea was like, "No, we're running for two." And so I learned of that after the game. I'm like, "Man, that is a ballsy play, but that is brilliant because that was just one step ahead. You know, really doing your homework and being prepared as a coach for that game." And so, smart decision by the Argos, despite the fact that they missed even just getting the single. As you know, as much as people don't like the idea of running up the score um, and whatnot. I mean, firstly, it's professional sports. They're paid like between 80 and like multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think they'll get over it. And then,
Yeah.
secondly, is especially in these series where there's only two games between the two teams, the points for and against is so crucial. If you're in a game where if you get blown out one night and you're just barely beating them the next, and this is a team that you could be locked in a playoff race with, then you have the incentive where you're like, we got to create some separation here. We got to close that gap in the points for and against in the season series. So smart decision by the Argonauts. So I don't blame them there. But Haralahu did miss a 28 yarder, but he does get the single.
The one thing I will say that I'm happy for is even though Red Blacks still lost yesterday,
Yep.
I'm still happy because we're still in second place.
Yes. Yeah. No. And that's the
Because now it's based off of points for and points against.
yeah. Well, it's not even. Well, no. I don't think it's that. It's because you
Yeah, it
guys.
is. I mean, besides us playing one last game.
I was about to say it's because you guys have played one less game. They would be in third and fourth. Nothing to do with points for, points against. It's the simple fact that they have three losses. They have one win, three losses. You have one win, two losses. And so
Mm-hmm.
that fourth game, I mean, it could be a loss, and then at that point it goes to points for, points against. But because you
Yeah.
have a game in hand, you're given the benefit of the doubt that it might be a win. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of it was the same situation that it was the same
That
situation
you
that our
guys.
team is in. I can't remember, but anyways, and so but like in the same way that like with us in Saskatchewan has four
Okay.
wins, and we have three wins. Well, we haven't
Yeah.
lost a game, but Saskatchewan's given the benefit of the doubt the fact that they've already won their game. So even though we might potentially win our game, they've already won it. The same way that
Yeah.
Toronto and Ottawa have already lost theirs. But standings out in the East now, the Montreal Alouettes first in the East with a 3-1 record. Second in the East is the Hamilton Tiger Cats by a score by a with a 1-2 record.
Okay.
Kind of crazy. You can be in second in place with a losing record, with a sub 500 record. But then Toronto and Ottawa are both tied for third and fourth place with a 1-3 record. And then out west, Saskatchewan leading it there with 4-0-0. Winnipeg then behind them with 3-0-0. Calgary in third with 2-1. BC with a 1-3, and it's not looking good. And then Edmonton 0 and
The
3, which is probably why I'm getting advertisements from the Edmonton Elks on my Instagram saying that they're selling tickets for $20. Because you know what? When the team isn't winning any games, that's how low you gotta go to get people in the
you
door.
so I seen this post earlier today. You are really starting to see that you need a decent backup quarterback. BC
Strebler, baby. Strebler.
BC would be in the shitter if it wasn't for Rourke. We've already discussed the whole Trey Ford thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Toronto. Who has Toronto even played? Because I'm curious to see who Toronto has played so far this year.
Just being Arbuckle. I don't even think
No, no, no,
Tucker.
no. Okay, so they played Montreal.
Okay.
They played Calgary. They
Yep.
played Saskatchewan, and now that they've played Ottawa. So it'll be interesting to see what happens Friday. And then Crum, I mean, Crum's just Crum. Like, I don't know what else to say if Drew Brown's not there.
I was telling my cousin, I'm like, is there gonna be a crumb back today? Is it happening? And then it didn't happen.
It almost did.
Well,
Listen,
it's
like
funny
I
because
said,
he doesn't really know much about the CFL and some of the rules. And we watched that return after he runs all the way in the end zone and then runs back, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, "Yep, Canadian football, the extra wide field."
but it's funny. Like I said, if it wasn't for that one safety getting those two touchdowns, Red
Yeah.
Blacks would have won by two.
Yep.
So I mean, it's would have, could have, should have. We could be talking about a whole different story, and we would be in third.
Yeah.
So what I'm actually looking forward to is Friday night, Kenny Lawler versus the Argonauts, because we all know how well he did against Saskatchewan when he was with the Bombers. So
Well,
we'll have to see how
fair
well he
enough.
does Friday night.
So, is there anything else that you got there, Rick? I think I'm pretty much done with.
No, sir.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Again, apologies about the change in
Uh,
quality partway through this video. You're gonna get this in terms of quality for both
oh,
the preview, which will be probably hopefully releasing on like Wednesday or late Wednesday or whatever it
okay.
is. Um, as well as the bomber video over on the Nolan Hockey podcast. But for the review of this coming week, I will be back in Winnipeg after the weekend. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys leave a like, share it around, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you leave us 5 stars. We very much appreciate all of your support. So peace, love, and positivity, all you wonderful people at home, and we will see you guys next time.